What if I told you that Carl Jung discovered a psychological technique so revolutionary that his own colleagues considered it dangerous for traditional psychology? A technique that he used during the most difficult moments of his life and that transformed not only his mind, but his entire perception of reality. Jung realized that there is a hidden vibrational frequency in our psyche, something he called psychic energy, and that when we learn to consciously tune into it, we can literally reprogram our life experience. He discovered that our mind has archetypal patterns that work like antennas, capable of attracting or repelling the circumstances we live through. Why was this technique considered forbidden? Because Jung was dealing with forces that the science of his time couldn't explain. He was using methods that challenged the boundaries between psychology and spirituality, between mind and physical reality. Today, I'm going to reveal how Jung developed this revolutionary technique and how you can apply it to raise your vibration and transform your reality. Prepare to discover the most controversial and powerful method Jung ever created. 1. The technique that divided psychology. When Carl Jung first presented his revolutionary discovery to his fellow psychologists, the room fell silent. What he was proposing challenged everything they thought they knew about the human mind. Jung had stumbled upon something that went far beyond traditional therapy. He had found a way to actually change the fabric of how people experienced reality itself. The controversy began when Jung started noticing patterns that mainstream psychology couldn't explain. His patients weren't just getting better mentally, their entire lives were transforming in ways that seemed almost magical. People who had struggled with poverty suddenly found new opportunities appearing everywhere. Those who felt unloved began attracting meaningful relationships without even trying. It was as if they had learned to tune into a different frequency of existence. What Jung discovered was that our minds operate on multiple levels of energy. While most psychologists focused only on thoughts and behaviors, Jung realized there was something deeper, a vibrational field that surrounded each person. This field acted like a magnet, pulling in experiences that matched its frequency. When someone carried fear, anxiety, or limiting beliefs, their field attracted more situations that reinforced those feelings. But when this field was properly aligned, it could attract abundance, love, and success with remarkable consistency. The technique Jung developed worked by identifying these energy patterns and systematically shifting them. Unlike traditional therapy that could take years, this method produced dramatic results in weeks. Patients reported feeling like they had awakened from a dream, suddenly seeing possibilities they had never noticed before. Their confidence soared, their relationships improved, and opportunities seemed to flow toward them effortlessly. But here's what made his colleagues uncomfortable. Jung couldn't fully explain why it worked using the scientific methods of his time. He was dealing with forces that existed beyond the physical realm, touching on what some called spiritual or metaphysical principles. This made many traditional psychologists nervous. They preferred treatments they could measure and quantify, not something that seemed to border on the mystical. Jung didn't care about the controversy. He had seen the results too many times to ignore them. He watched people transform their entire lives by learning to work with these hidden energy patterns. The technique didn't just heal psychological wounds, it actually changed what people attracted into their experience. It was as if they had learned to operate from a completely different level of consciousness. The most remarkable part was how simple the process actually was. Jung found that most people were already unconsciously using these energy patterns. They just weren't aware of it. Those who lived in constant struggle were unknowingly broadcasting frequencies of lack and limitation. But once they learned to recognize and shift these patterns, their external circumstances began changing almost immediately. This is why the technique was considered so dangerous by conventional psychology. It suggested that reality itself was far more flexible than anyone had imagined. It implied that people weren't just victims of their circumstances, but active creators of their experience through the energy fields they maintained. For a scientific community that prided itself on objective reality, this was deeply unsettling. 2. The secret of Jung's psychic energy. Deep within your mind right now, there's an invisible force that's shaping every moment of your life. Jung called this force psychic energy, and he discovered that learning to work with it was the key to transforming your entire reality. This isn't some abstract concept. It's a practical power that you can learn to direct and control. Think of psychic energy like electricity flowing through your mental circuits. Just as electricity can power different devices depending on how it's directed, your psychic energy can create vastly different life experiences based on how you channel it. Most people let this energy flow randomly, which is why their lives feel chaotic and unpredictable. But Jung found that when you learn to consciously direct this flow, you become the master of your own destiny. This energy doesn't just exist inside your head. It radiates outward, creating what Jung described as your personal energy field. This field is constantly communicating with the world around you, sending out signals about who you are and what you expect from life. When your field carries vibrations of confidence and success, the universe responds by bringing you opportunities that match those frequencies. When it carries fear and doubt, you attract situations that confirm those limiting beliefs. The fascinating thing Jung discovered is that this energy follows certain laws, just like physical forces. It flows toward whatever you focus on most intensely. If you're constantly worried about money, your psychic energy flows toward experiences of financial struggle. If you're focused on finding love, that energy draws romantic opportunities into your life. The key is learning to redirect this flow consciously rather than letting it run on autopilot. Jung realized that most people's psychic energy was trapped in old patterns from their past. Childhood experiences, past failures, and inherited beliefs created energy blockages that kept people stuck in repetitive cycles. These blockages acted like dams, preventing the natural flow of creative and manifesting energy. The technique Jung developed was designed to clear these blockages and restore the natural flow of psychic energy. When your psychic energy flows freely, remarkable things begin to happen. Your intuition becomes sharper, guiding you toward the right decisions at the right times. You start noticing synchronicities, meaningful coincidences that seem to confirm you're on the right path. Doors that were previously closed begin opening, and you find yourself in the right place at the right time more often than could be explained by chance alone. The process of working with psychic energy involves 3 main steps. First, you learn to recognize where your energy is currently flowing. This requires honest self-examination of your dominant thoughts, emotions, and beliefs. Second, you identify the blockages that are preventing optimal energy flow. These usually show up as recurring problems or limitations in your life. Third, you use specific techniques to clear these blockages and redirect your energy toward your desired outcomes. What makes this approach so powerful is that it works from the inside out. Instead of trying to force external changes through willpower alone, you're shifting the fundamental energy patterns that create your reality. This creates lasting transformation because you're addressing the root cause rather than just the symptoms. When your psychic energy is properly aligned, positive changes in your external world happen naturally and effortlessly. By the way, if you're curious to go even deeper and integrate your shadows and light, check out the Sim Method ebook. It's a concise guide that can help you unlock your inner power in just 5 minutes a day. The link is in the first pinned comment below. 3. How to tune your inner frequency. Imagine your mind as a radio that's been stuck between stations, picking up static and unclear signals. Jung discovered that most people go through life never learning how to properly tune their inner frequency, which is why they experience so much chaos and confusion. But once you master this tuning process, you can dial into any frequency you choose: success, love, abundance, or peace. Your inner frequency is determined by the combination of your thoughts, emotions, and beliefs operating together. Think of it like a musical chord made up of different notes. When these notes are in harmony, they create beautiful music that attracts wonderful experiences. When they're out of tune, they create discord that pushes away the things you want most. The first step in tuning your frequency is becoming aware of what station you're currently broadcasting on. Most people operate on unconscious frequencies, inherited from their families, friends, or society. They might be stuck on the struggle frequency, constantly expecting life to be difficult, or they could be tuned to the not good enough station, always feeling like they need to prove their worth. These unconscious frequencies become self-fulfilling prophecies, attracting experiences that match their vibration. Jung found that the quickest way to identify your current frequency is by looking at your life patterns. Your external circumstances are like a mirror reflecting your inner broadcast. If you keep attracting drama, your frequency is probably set to chaos. If money problems keep appearing, you're likely broadcasting on a scarcity frequency. If relationships consistently disappoint you, your frequency might be tuned to unworthiness or fear of intimacy. Once you recognize your current frequency, you can begin the retuning process. This starts with what Jung called conscious feeling. Instead of just thinking about what you want, you need to actually feel the emotions you would experience if you already had it. If you want financial abundance, you need to cultivate the feeling of security and freedom that comes with having plenty of money. If you desire a loving relationship, you must generate the emotions of being deeply loved and appreciated. The key insight Jung discovered is that emotions are the tuning mechanism of your inner frequency. Your thoughts set the direction, but your emotions determine the strength and clarity of your broadcast. A thought without emotion is like trying to start a car without fuel. Nothing happens. But when you combine a clear intention with genuine emotion, you create a powerful frequency that the universe can't ignore. This is where most people get stuck. They try to change their frequency through positive thinking alone, but they never address the emotional patterns running underneath. You might repeat affirmations about abundance while feeling anxious about money, or visualize perfect relationships while carrying deep fears of rejection. These conflicting signals create a confused broadcast that produces mixed results. Jung developed specific exercises to help people align their thoughts and emotions into a coherent frequency. One powerful technique involves what he called future feeling. You imagine yourself already living your desired reality and spend time each day genuinely experiencing the emotions that would naturally arise. Not just imagining them, but actually feeling them in your body as if they were happening right now. Another crucial element is releasing resistance frequencies. These are the old emotional patterns that keep pulling you back to lower vibrations. Resistance shows up as doubt, fear, anger, or feelings of unworthiness. Every time you catch yourself in one of these states, you're temporarily tuned to a frequency that works against your goals. Learning to quickly recognize and shift out of these states is essential for maintaining your desired frequency. The beautiful thing about frequency tuning is that it works whether you understand the mechanics or not. Just like you don't need to understand radio waves to enjoy music, you don't need to grasp all the scientific details to benefit from frequency alignment. You just need to be willing to practice the techniques consistently until they become natural. As you get better at maintaining your chosen frequency, you'll notice that life starts flowing more smoothly. The right opportunities appear at the perfect times. The people you need to meet show up naturally. Problems that used to stress you out seem to resolve themselves with minimal effort. This isn't magic. It's the natural result of broadcasting a clear, consistent signal that the universe can easily respond to. 4. Active imagination that changes your reality. Jung stumbled upon one of the most powerful reality-changing techniques almost by accident. He called it active imagination, and it goes far beyond simple daydreaming or wishful thinking. This technique allows you to literally rehearse new realities in your mind until they become so real to your subconscious that your outer world has no choice but to match them. Most people think imagination is just fantasy, entertaining but ultimately useless for creating real change. Jung discovered the opposite was true. He found that imagination, when used correctly, was actually a preview of coming attractions. The images and scenarios you consistently hold in your mind become the blueprint your subconscious uses to construct your future experiences. The difference between regular imagination and active imagination is the level of conscious control and emotional engagement you bring to the process. Regular daydreaming is passive. You let your mind wander wherever it wants to go. Active imagination is purposeful and directed. You choose specific scenarios that align with your goals and then make them feel as real as possible in your mind. Here's what makes this technique so powerful. Your subconscious mind cannot tell the difference between a vividly imagined experience and a real one. When you repeatedly imagine yourself succeeding, feeling confident, or living abundantly, your subconscious accepts these images as true memories of future events. It then begins arranging circumstances to make these memories come true in physical reality. Jung discovered that the key to effective active imagination is engaging all your senses. You can't just see yourself in your desired situation. You need to hear the sounds, feel the textures, smell the scents, and even taste the flavors of your new reality. The more sensory details you include, the more real the experience becomes to your subconscious mind. But there's a crucial element that most people miss: emotional intensity. Jung found that imagination without genuine emotion is like trying to plant seeds in concrete. Nothing grows. You need to feel the joy, excitement, gratitude, or satisfaction that your desired reality would bring. These emotions act like fertilizer, giving your mental images the power to take root and grow in physical form. The technique works best when you practice it during the quiet moments right before sleep and immediately upon waking. During these times, your conscious mind is naturally relaxed, making it easier for new images to reach your subconscious. Jung recommended spending at least 10 to 15 minutes each day in active imagination, consistently visualizing the same desired outcomes until they felt completely natural and inevitable. One of the most remarkable aspects of active imagination is how it changes your behavior without conscious effort. When you repeatedly see yourself as confident and successful in your mind, you automatically start acting more confident in real life. Your posture improves, your voice becomes more authoritative, and you make decisions that align with your imagined identity. These behavioral changes then attract circumstances that match your new self-image. Jung also discovered that active imagination could be used to solve specific problems. By imagining yourself successfully handling challenging situations, you essentially practice different responses until you find the most effective approach. Athletes have used this principle for decades, mentally rehearsing perfect performances to improve their actual results. Jung realized this same technique could be applied to any area of life. The practice becomes even more powerful when you imagine not just what you want, but also how achieving it would feel and what positive impact it would have on others. This adds a sense of purpose and meaning that makes your images more compelling to your subconscious mind. When your goals align with your deeper values and desire to contribute, the universe seems to provide extra support in manifesting them. What Jung found most fascinating was that people who practiced active imagination regularly began experiencing more synchronicities in their daily lives. It was as if their focused imagination created a magnetic field that drew related opportunities and resources toward them. The clearer and more emotionally charged their inner visions became, the faster their outer reality shifted to match them. 5. Unlocking the archetypes of success. Hidden deep within your mind are powerful patterns that Jung called archetypes, ancient blueprints of human potential that can completely transform how you show up in the world. Most people never learn to access these inner powerhouses, but those who do discover they have abilities and magnetism they never knew existed. These archetypes are like sleeping giants waiting to be awakened, and once activated, they can revolutionize every aspect of your life. Think of archetypes as different versions of yourself that already exist in potential form. There's the successful leader archetype within you, the loving partner archetype, the abundant creator archetype, and many others. Each one carries its own energy signature, its own way of thinking, feeling, and acting. When you learn to consciously activate the right archetype for any situation, you tap into a reservoir of power and wisdom that feels almost supernatural. Jung discovered that successful people weren't necessarily smarter or more talented than others. They had simply learned to embody the archetypes that matched their goals. The confident business owner had activated their inner ruler archetype. The inspiring teacher had awakened their sage archetype. The innovative artist was channeling their creator archetype. Each archetype comes with its own set of natural abilities, perspectives, and magnetic qualities. The problem is that most people operate from wounded or limited versions of these archetypes. Instead of embodying the powerful ruler, they might be stuck in the victim archetype. Rather than expressing the wise sage, they're trapped in the eternal student who never feels ready to share their knowledge. These distorted patterns keep them small and prevent them from accessing their full potential. The process of archetype activation begins with identifying which patterns are currently running your life. Look at your dominant behaviors, thoughts, and emotional reactions. Are you always trying to please everyone? You might be stuck in the servant archetype instead of stepping into your sovereign self. Do you constantly seek approval from others? You could be operating from the orphan archetype rather than the self-sufficient warrior. Once you recognize your current patterns, you can begin shifting into more empowering archetypes. This isn't about pretending to be someone you're not. It's about accessing different aspects of your authentic self that have been dormant. Every human being contains all the archetypes within them. The key is learning to activate the ones that serve your highest good in any given situation. Jung found that the fastest way to embody a new archetype is through what he called archetypal meditation. You spend time each day visualizing yourself fully embodying the qualities of your chosen archetype. If you want to activate the leader within you, you imagine yourself making confident decisions, inspiring others, and taking charge of situations with natural authority. You feel what it's like to have that level of inner strength and external influence, but visualization alone isn't enough. You need to start acting from that archetypal energy in small ways throughout your day. If you're activating the abundance archetype, you might start making more generous choices or investing in yourself without fear. If you're embodying the lover archetype, you begin expressing more appreciation and creating more beauty in your environment. These small actions signal to your subconscious that you're serious about the transformation. What makes archetype work so powerful is that each pattern comes with its own energy frequency. When you fully embody the successful entrepreneur archetype, you naturally start thinking like an entrepreneur, making decisions like an entrepreneur, and attracting opportunities that entrepreneurs would notice. Your energy field shifts to match that archetype, and the world responds accordingly. Jung observed that people could literally transform their lives in a matter of weeks by consistently embodying a new archetype. Their friends and family would comment on how different they seemed, more confident, more magnetic, more successful. This wasn't because they were pretending or putting on an act. They had genuinely activated a different aspect of their authentic self. The most successful people Jung worked with learned to fluidly move between different archetypes, depending on the situation. They could be the nurturing caregiver with their family, the decisive leader at work, the creative artist in their personal projects, and the wise mentor when teaching others. This flexibility allowed them to respond to life's challenges from a place of strength rather than limitation. 6. Using synchronicity as your transformation tool. Jung noticed something remarkable happening to people who began working with their inner energy patterns. The universe seemed to start cooperating with them in mysterious ways. Meaningful coincidences began appearing everywhere. The right person would show up at exactly the right moment. Opportunities would present themselves just when they were needed most. Jung called this phenomenon synchronicity, and he discovered it could be consciously cultivated as a powerful tool for transformation. Synchronicity is far more than just random luck or coincidence. It's the universe's way of confirming that you're aligned with your true path and providing support for your growth and goals. When you're operating from your authentic frequency and embodying empowering archetypes, you create conditions that naturally attract synchronistic events. It's as if you become a magnet for meaningful connections and perfect timing. Most people experience occasional synchronicities but dismiss them as mere coincidences. They fail to recognize these events as communication from a deeper intelligence that's trying to guide and support them. Jung realized that learning to read and respond to synchronicities was like having a direct conversation with the creative force of the universe itself. The key to increasing synchronicity in your life is developing what Jung called meaningful attention. This means staying alert to patterns, connections, and opportunities that might seem insignificant to others, but carry special meaning for you. When you're truly paying attention, you start noticing that certain numbers keep appearing, specific songs play at meaningful moments, or conversations happen that directly relate to questions you've been pondering. Synchronicities often appear as answers to problems you've been struggling with. You might be wondering how to advance your career when you overhear a conversation about an opportunity that's perfect for you. You could be feeling lonely when an old friend unexpectedly reaches out. You might be questioning a major decision when a book falls open to exactly the page that contains the wisdom you need. These aren't accidents. They're responses to your inner state and focused intentions. Jung discovered that synchronicities increase dramatically when you're actively working on personal transformation. It's as if the universe recognizes your commitment to growth and begins providing extra support. The more aligned you become with your authentic self, the more the external world seems to rearrange itself to match your new vibration. Doors open, people appear, and resources become available in ways that feel almost magical. But here's the crucial part that most people miss. You have to act on the synchronicities when they appear. They're not just interesting phenomena to observe, they're invitations to take inspired action. When a synchronicity points you toward an opportunity, a person, or a new direction, you need to have the courage to follow the guidance. The universe is offering you a gift, but you have to unwrap it through action. Learning to distinguish between true synchronicity and wishful thinking takes practice. Real synchronicities usually feel different from ordinary coincidences. They carry an emotional charge, a sense of rightness or significance that you feel in your body. They often involve multiple elements coming together in ways that seem statistically unlikely. Most importantly, they usually point you toward growth, healing, or the fulfillment of your deeper purpose. Jung taught that you could actually request synchronicities by clearly stating your needs or questions and then remaining open to how the answers might appear. This isn't about demanding that the universe serve your every whim, but about creating conscious dialogue with the intelligence that orchestrates meaningful connections. When you approach synchronicity with respect and genuine curiosity, it becomes a reliable guidance system. The practice of working with synchronicity changes how you move through the world. Instead of forcing outcomes through willpower alone, you learn to dance with the flow of meaningful events. You make plans and take action, but you also remain flexible and responsive to the unexpected opportunities that synchronicity provides. This creates a sense of being supported and guided that makes life feel more magical and purposeful. As you become more attuned to synchronistic patterns, you'll notice that they often cluster around important transitions or decisions in your life. During times of major change, the universe seems to provide extra confirmation and support through meaningful coincidences. Learning to recognize and trust these patterns can help you navigate life transitions with greater confidence and grace. 7. Reprogramming your shadow side. Every person carries within them what Jung called the shadow, the parts of themselves they've rejected, hidden, or denied. Most people spend enormous energy trying to keep their shadow buried, but Jung discovered something revolutionary. The shadow contains some of your greatest untapped power. When you learn to integrate your shadow consciously, instead of fighting it, you unlock hidden strengths and stop unconsciously sabotaging your own success. Your shadow isn't just your bad qualities, it's everything about yourself that you've been taught is unacceptable. Maybe you learned early in life that anger was dangerous, so you pushed down your natural assertiveness. Perhaps you were told that wanting money was greedy, so you buried your natural drive for abundance. Or you might have been shamed for being too confident, so you dimmed your natural radiance. All of these rejected parts didn't disappear. They went into your shadow, where they continue to influence your life in hidden ways. The problem with a rejected shadow is that it doesn't stay quietly hidden. It leaks out in unconscious ways that sabotage your conscious goals. If you've rejected your anger, you might find yourself attracting people who walk all over you. If you've disowned your desire for success, you might unconsciously make choices that keep you struggling. If you've hidden your natural confidence, you might find yourself shrinking back just when opportunities appear. Jung realized that shadow integration wasn't about becoming your worst impulses. It was about reclaiming the positive qualities that got thrown out with the negative ones. When you reject anger, you also lose access to healthy boundaries and the ability to stand up for yourself. When you deny your ambition, you also lose your natural drive and determination. When you hide your power, you also lose your ability to create positive change in the world. The first step in shadow work is becoming aware of what you've rejected about yourself. A simple way to identify your shadow is by noticing what qualities you judge most harshly in other people. The things that trigger the strongest negative reactions in you are often reflections of your own disowned parts. If someone's arrogance really bothers you, you might have rejected your own healthy pride. If you're annoyed by people who seem greedy, you might have disowned your own desire for abundance. Another way to spot your shadow is by looking at patterns where you sabotage yourself just as success is within reach. These self-sabotaging behaviors usually come from shadow parts that believe you don't deserve good things or that success is somehow dangerous. Maybe a part of you learned that being successful means being alone, so you unconsciously push away opportunities when they appear. Jung developed a powerful technique for integrating shadow aspects called active dialogue. Instead of trying to eliminate unwanted parts of yourself, you learn to have conscious conversations with them. You might dialogue with the part of you that's afraid of success to understand what it's trying to protect you from. Or you could communicate with the angry part to discover what boundaries it's trying to help you establish. This internal dialogue allows you to negotiate with your shadow parts instead of fighting them. You can acknowledge their concerns while redirecting their energy toward positive goals. The angry part might become your inner warrior, protecting your dreams and values. The greedy part might transform into healthy ambition that drives you toward abundance that you can share with others. What Jung found most remarkable was that people who successfully integrated their shadow often experienced dramatic increases in personal power and magnetism. By reclaiming their rejected qualities, they became more whole, more authentic, and more attractive to others. They stopped leaking energy through internal conflicts and could focus all their power on creating their desired reality. Shadow integration also eliminates many of the internal blocks that prevent manifestation. When you're unconsciously fighting parts of yourself, you send mixed signals to the universe. Your conscious mind might want success, while your shadow believes you don't deserve it. By bringing these conflicts into the light and resolving them, you create internal alignment that makes manifestation much more effortless. The process requires courage because it means facing parts of yourself you've spent years avoiding. But Jung discovered that what people fear most about their shadow is usually far less scary than the energy they waste trying to keep it hidden. Most shadow qualities, when integrated consciously, become sources of strength rather than weakness. 8. Maintaining your new reality forever. The most challenging part of transformation isn't creating change. It's making it permanent. Jung observed that many people would experience incredible breakthroughs using his techniques, only to gradually slip back into their old patterns over time. He discovered that maintaining your new reality requires understanding the invisible forces that try to pull you back to your previous state and developing specific strategies to anchor your transformation permanently. Your old reality doesn't disappear quietly. It has momentum, like a river that's been flowing in the same direction for years. Your family, friends, and environment are all accustomed to the previous version of you, and they often unconsciously pressure you to return to familiar patterns. Even your own nervous system prefers predictable patterns, even if they're limiting, because they feel safe and known. This is why so many people experience what Jung called transformation backlash. Just as they're settling into their new empowered state, they hit unexpected resistance. Old fears resurface, familiar doubts creep back in, and external circumstances seem to test their resolve. People who don't understand this natural process often interpret these challenges as signs that the transformation isn't working, causing them to abandon their progress just before it becomes permanent. Jung discovered that successful transformation requires what he called identity anchoring, consciously reinforcing your new self-concept until it becomes more natural than your old patterns. This means consistently acting from your transformed state, even when it feels uncomfortable or unfamiliar. Every time you choose your new response over your old reaction, you strengthen the neural pathways that support your evolved identity. One of the most powerful anchoring techniques Jung developed involves creating what he called transformation rituals, daily practices that consistently reinforce your new reality. These might include morning visualizations where you fully embody your transformed self, evening reviews where you acknowledge the day's growth, or weekly sessions where you reconnect with your deeper purpose and goals. The key to effective rituals is making them personally meaningful rather than just going through empty motions. Your transformation ritual should genuinely excite and inspire you, not feel like another chore on your to-do list. When you look forward to your daily practice, it becomes a source of strength and renewal rather than a burden. Jung also emphasized the importance of environmental design in maintaining transformation. Your physical surroundings should reflect and support your new identity. If you've transformed into someone who values abundance, your environment should reflect prosperity and beauty. If you've evolved into a more confident leader, your space should inspire strength and clarity. These environmental cues continuously remind your subconscious of who you're becoming. Equally important is curating your social environment. Jung found that people who maintained lasting transformation were selective about who they spent time with during their integration period. They sought out relationships that supported their growth while limiting exposure to people who reinforced their old limitations. This doesn't mean abandoning everyone from your past, but it does mean being conscious about which influences you allow into your mental and emotional space. Another crucial element Jung discovered is what he called challenge reframing. Your new reality will inevitably face tests, situations that trigger your old patterns and invite you to react from your previous limitations. Instead of seeing these as setbacks, Jung taught people to view them as opportunities to strengthen their transformation. Each challenge you navigate from your new consciousness proves to your subconscious that the change is real and permanent. The maintenance phase also requires ongoing course correction. Jung observed that transformation isn't a destination, but a dynamic process of continuous evolution. You need regular check-ins with yourself to assess whether you're still aligned with your desired direction or if adjustments are needed. This might involve refining your goals, updating your practices, or integrating new insights as you continue growing. Perhaps most importantly, Jung emphasized that maintaining transformation requires a sense of purpose beyond personal gain. People who sustained the most dramatic changes had connected their individual evolution to something larger than themselves, whether that was serving others, creating beauty, or contributing to positive change in the world. When your transformation serves a meaningful purpose, you find the motivation to maintain it even when the initial excitement fades. The ultimate goal isn't just to maintain your new reality, but to make it so natural that it requires no effort. Jung called this integrated authenticity, when your transformed state becomes your genuine, effortless way of being. At this point, you're no longer trying to maintain change. You're simply expressing who you've become. What if the life you're living right now is just the shadow of who you could become? If you dared to unlock the power Jung discovered within the hidden chambers of your own mind.